very quiet. You have 5 minutes?
I have 5 minutes?
Yeah, want to play 5 minutes?
Sure. Good morning. My name is, Lori Whittemore, and our service leader today is my good friend, Reverend Sue. She's visiting us from Fort Myers, and I'm delighted to have her. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Saco, Biddeford. We also want to welcome those joining us online from YouTube and encourage them to have a candle to light when we light our chalice in a few minutes. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, you are welcome here today. The theme for the month of December is presence. We invite you to carry that theme with you today and out into the world once you leave back into your daily life. We commit to be co-stewards of this land and work towards a world that is just and thriving for the whole web of life. We invite you to take an order of service home with you once you leave, and please silence your cell phones. There will be a social hour in the parish hall after service. Please join us.
Good morning. Our opening words are a little history lesson for you this morning. This comes from our Roots in Christianity, the O antiphons. They were first used by the church in the 8th and 9th centuries. The Advent hymn that we will sing later today, O come, Emmanuel, is based on these words. Written sometime during the 9th century, these phrases informed the hymn that we will sing. What's most interesting to me is, like Unitarian Universalists, each of these phrases addresses God, in this case, in a different way, in the same way that we often refer to the divine with different names. O wisdom, who came from the mouth of the Most High, reaching from end to end and ordering all things mightily and sweetly, come and teach us the way. O Lord and ruler of the house of Israel, who appeared to Moses in the flame of the burning bush and gave him the law on Sinai, come and redeem us with outstretched arms. O root of Jesse, that stands for an ensign of the people, before whom the kings keep silence, and unto whom the Gentiles shall make supplications. Come and deliver us, tarry not. O key of David and scepter of the house of Israel, who opens and no man shuts, who shuts and no man opens, come and bring forth the captive from his prison, he who sits in darkness and in the shadow of death. O dawn of the east, brightness of light eternal, sun of justice, come and enlighten us. O King of the Gentiles and their desired one, the cornerstone that makes both one, come and deliver us. O Emmanuel, God with us, our King, the expected of the nations and the Savior. Come and save us.
And as I light our chalice, I invite you to join me in saying the covenant of our congregation. This is our sacred promise to gather together in peace, to seek truth in love, to serve human need, so that all shall grow in harmony with the divine. And this morning, Tom is going to play some music for us.
Today begins the season of Advent. Lori will light the first candle that represents faith. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. By faith, we acknowledge a heritage from many traditions which calls us on our own search for truth and meaning. Faith is knowing that our existence makes a difference, that we are important, that we are integral parts of the human experience. Please rise as you are able for our opening hymn. It's number 241 in your gray hymnal or on the screen, In the Bleak Midwinter.
Now is the time in the service where you're invited to share what's troubling to you and what's joy on your heart. You are welcome to come forward and light a candle, share your name and what you'd like to share, and we'll hold that in the light.
Do a candle? Oh, take one there. Okay. And, I have to light it this way. Yes. I'm new. So give me a moment here. Okay, there we go. This was a very timely hymn that we just sang, because it talked about Jesus Christ being a homeless stranger. Well, I've entered here and I'm a homeless stranger too. Not Christ, but I am certainly someone who is, quote, unhoused. We prefer to be called that. My daughter and I have been searching for a place since last summer. And the problem is not a monthly rent. The problem is how much money they want up front to get into the places, the first, last, security. They've made it so that the average person can't even get into a place. So it has nothing to do with not wanting to get into a place or not having the ability to get into a place, except for that very large upfront amount that they will not let you go into a place without. We had certainly hoped that by Thanksgiving or by Christmas we would find a place, but it seems like not only is there a problem with getting a place, but there's a shortage of places that are affordable. I mean, we every month we maybe find one or two possibles, and that's about it. There really is very little. People are keeping where they are at because of the economic situation. I don't beg, and I'm not asking right now. I'm just asking for your prayers, because I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. There's homeless that have drug and alcohol problems, and there are homeless that just have a financial issue. I'm of the latter. And I think that we really need to collectively pray for those who are less fortunate. And I want you to be grateful for the places that you have, with complete gratitude for water, for a bathroom, for a kitchen, for things that I wish I had. So I just wanted to say, please pray. And especially during this holiday season. There are a lot of people even less fortunate than myself. And I'm praying for them too. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ann, and you all know, if you've read the newsletter, what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about last Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, being the 197th anniversary of the dedication of this part of our building. It looks like I'm going to make 200. There have been years when I doubted that. This would be our birthday celebration today. And I think we should really, really think about all the things this church has done and stood for in the 197 years and what we can stand for in the future.
Good morning. I'm Kelsey, and I have several great joys today. One is our son Lucas just turned 10 on Friday, which means, besides the fact that he's amazing, that we have been parents for 10 years, which is kind of a miracle. It feels like the blink of an eye, and also a very long time. And the second is that a couple weeks ago on the 22nd, Matt and I celebrated 5 years being legally married. We've been together for 16 years total, and our relationship is the best thing to happen in my life.
Good morning. I'm also Ann. And my granddaughter Hazel just turned 3. So if you see her bouncing around at coffee hour, you can say, happy birthday, 3-year-old, or whatever you want to say, or nothing. But anyway, I just wanted to share.
Good morning, I'm Doreen Spirito. I lit a candle this morning for Marcy, who had the courage to stand up and share her heart.
All right, I'm going to light 2 2 candles, one for Paul Coleman, who had a little bit of a medical issue, but is doing okay, and he's home. And a second one for all of the joys and sorrows that went unmentioned today. Please make space in your hearts for all that you've heard.
And I invite you to join me in our responsive reading. I will read the first line and then join me on the italicized lines. This is by Edna St. Vincent Millay, who I'm told is from Maine, so it feels right that we start our service with her. For this your mother sweated in the cold. For this you bled upon the bitter tree. A yard of tinsel ribbon bought and sold. A paper wreath, a day at home for me. The merry bells ring out, the people kneel. Up goes the preacher before the crowd, with voice of honey and with eyes of steel, droning your humble gospel to the proud. Nobody listens less than the wind that blows are all your words to us you died to save. O Prince of Peace, O Sharon's dewy rose, how mute you lie within your vaulted grave. The stone the angel rolled away with tears is back upon your mouth these 1,000 years. And once again, Tom Benoit's going to join us for some music.
I did that on purpose. I made you wait just a little bit too long. You squirmed, right? You checked your order of service, or Lori checked to look over to see, why isn't she getting up? Waiting, it causes a little bit of agitation. That pause. Did it wake you up a little bit? Maybe we were relaxing through Tom's music and all of a sudden, wait, something's wrong. It's not going in the way that we anticipated. That's what Advent is. We start today with the first Sunday of Advent. And I have to tell you, I've been wrestling with words. I was touched this week by so many stories around the Thanksgiving table and with families. I waited 15 years to have our whole family together for Thanksgiving. 15 years. Costa Rica, Northern Maine, Massachusetts, Colorado, Florida, we all came together. We waited a long time. And you know what? 4 of us didn't make it. There was 6 inches of snow, and the old folks couldn't drive. It was a lot of anticipation for some amount of disappointment. And I'm fighting a little bit with the first candle of faith and fatigue. You know, in Florida, we've had a few disasters lately. 3 Category 4 or 5 hurricanes in 6 weeks. Election results that not only impact us nationally, but in Florida supported an abortion ban. So I thought about today and the poet Ferlinghetti, who wrote, I am waiting to get some intimations of immortality by recollecting my childhood. I am waiting for the green mornings to come again, for some strange of unpremeditated art to shake my typewriter. And I am waiting to write that great indelible poem, or for me, sermon. And I am waiting for the long last rapture. And I am perpetually waiting for the fleeting lovers on the Grecian urn to finally catch each other at last and embrace. And I am waiting perpetually and forever for a renaissance of wonder. And you are waiting to see if all of this waiting somehow births itself lovingly into a sermon this morning. I don't know. Advent is supposed to be the time of year for waiting and for hope. Waiting and wondering. It's the time of the greatest anticipation. But really, if I was to describe what I think Advent is for most people nowadays, I would say it is known as the time that comes between Thanksgiving and Christmas. If they go to church, they probably know they light a candle each week, but maybe not exactly what it's for, and why the heck is there one pink one? If not that, it's how many days of shopping till Christmas. And perhaps one might burst into song and say it's the greatest time of the year, the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing. Are my presents all here? Maybe what kind of candy is behind that little door in the Advent calendar that you probably opened today for the first time? And who knew? But there are Advent calendars with socks, Advent calendars with all kinds of whiskey, Advent calendars with just about everything you can imagine behind those little doors. Friday night, the Grinch was already on. Parties galore. We had a big Christmas party with my family last night. The lights are up on homes where now I feel like in neighborhoods, there is a competition for the best display, the most blow up things, perhaps maybe the most money given to CMP during the month of December. And we can't forget that Advent is preceded each year by the National Holy Day of Black Friday. Busiest shopping day of the season, right? I have given sermons on the ludicrousness, if that's a word, of this season. I don't have to do that anymore. I don't think so, because it is so pervasive. You can't escape it, right? You cannot escape the commercialism. The new fangled, it's interesting to have dropped out of the US culture for 10 years, because coming back, I'm surprised or appalled, or I'm not sure with all of it. And so this year, seeing the Christmas trees pre-lit for like $300 at Home Depot, next to the Halloween decorations of blow-up Frankensteins and who knows what else. It's amazing. Your inboxes are full with advertisements to buy all of the things that you never knew that you needed. People are waiting, all right, but more in anticipation for whether they will get a space in the parking lot of whatever big box store they need to go to, what number they are in the queue for the advertised special, or how long will the pickup line be because you ordered online and you just have to show up and get your thing. My friend took me to Sam's Club. We shopped and she bought things, she scanned them on her phone, and we walked out through a machine. And the lady said, "Okay, you're good." I said, "We didn't even pay." Oh, she said, "Yeah, just took it right out of my bank account." We didn't even go to a cash register, nothing. I don't know. Maybe Advent doesn't apply anymore. Maybe it's only for the monks who are best suited to contemplate and to chant and to discover deeper meanings in the songs like Joy to the World or O come, Emmanuel, which we'll sing today. And as I wrote this sermon, I decided I better do some more contemplation so I could remind you about why we're here and singing O come, Emmanuel, and lighting the candles, and thus our opening words, explaining our closing hymn. Most people today don't have time for contemplation. It is the busiest time of year, and I can attest to that. And Advent is a season that certainly gets displaced by the contemporary, commercialized, pre-Christmas hustle and bustle. Do you know that it's even the hustle and bustle season for need? How many solicitations have you received in the last week, or will you receive, not just from church, but in the mail, in your email, at the mall, at work? We've even created Giving Tuesday, right? Followed by Cyber Monday, so that we can solicit your contributions. I'm sorry if I might sound a little bit cynical, and maybe things are different in your house, but I would ask you to think about during this time of year, from now until Christmas, do things slow down or do they speed up? Do you have more time for your faith practice or less? Do you have time to devote to the causes nearest to your heart, to be fully present with your loved ones? And if not, why are you rushing? What are you rushing toward? Advent is defined as the time of anticipation. It's waiting for Christ. Now, that definition might not work for most of us here if we don't identify as Christian. As a child growing up in a Christian tradition, it really still only meant to me opening that Advent calendar, counting down the days in anticipation of Christmas. But I don't really remember it being about the holy child being born. It was about the presents. And as you may have experienced, when I didn't immediately stand up and come to the podium to speak, anticipation can often be anxiety producing. Not to mention disappointing when all that we anticipate doesn't come to fruition. We create expectations which inevitably go unfulfilled. Now, I remember when I was growing up, there was an amazing priest in our parish, I grew up Catholic, whose overriding philosophy was don't anticipate, rather participate. Why are we always waiting? Waiting for Jesus to be born each year, waiting for him to die, waiting in the desert, waiting for the resurrection, waiting for the second coming, waiting for heaven. What about just living as if Christ was here among us? That might inform a better way of acting and living in the world in this present moment. But the message of Advent is waiting. But there is another one as well. Advent also means to come to awaken. Now that piece I can celebrate. Maybe the little bit of waiting before I stood up woke you up a little bit. Martin Luther King once preached a sermon entitled Remaining Awake Through the Great Revolution. He began his sermon by telling the story of Rip Van Winkle, who went to sleep seeing a sign of King George and awoke to a sign of George Washington. He had slept through a revolution. The story that Martin Luther King tells is one of the great liabilities of our life is that too many people find themselves living amid a great period of social change. Pay attention to this. Think about when this was preached. He said, one of the great liabilities in our life is that too many people find themselves living in a period of social change, and yet they fail to develop the new attitudes, the new mental responses that the new situation demands. They end up sleeping through the revolution. He pointed out that there are 3 great revolutions taking place in the world at the time of his sermon. He said there is a technical revolution, a revolution in weaponry, and a human rights revolution. Does any of this still sound familiar? And he said, whenever anything new comes into history, it brings with it new challenges, but it also brings new opportunities. And then he spoke of several challenges. He said, we are challenged to develop a world perspective. We are challenged to eradicate the last vestiges of racial injustice from our nation. And we are challenged to rid our nation and the world of poverty. We are challenged to find an alternative to war and to bloodshed. These words were spoken in 1968. I would say that these challenges are as urgent today as they were only a year after I was born, and perhaps after the election election results recently, they are even more urgent. Now, for Christians during Advent, they remember Jesus coming as an infant in a manger, and they anticipate his coming as the culmination of the kingdom of God. They reflect on God's past and present and future redemptive acts in history, like we read in the responsive reading. They celebrate the coming of Jesus Christ, whose life, ministry, death, and resurrection inaugurated the reign of God, and they await its fulfillment. That's what sustains folks who embrace Christianity in their hearts. That is what sustains them in a world that sometimes makes no sense. They know that Jesus has come as the fulfillment of God's promise, and they know that his ultimate reign will surely happen again. And that is all great if you identify as Christian, and how much that must fill you. But what about those of us who don't know what to do with the season of joy and anticipation? Well, we as Unitarian Universalists can embrace the inherent meaning of Advent. We can wake up. Wake up to what our faith calls us to do in this community and in the world. Our faith is not a set of beliefs like it is for members of other faith traditions. Our faith, represented in this candle, always ends as it must end, in action. To live is to act. Even if our actions are as deliberately unobtrusive as we can possibly make them, we still act. We are, all of us, making choices during this Advent season, and all seasons for that matter, but how to spend our days, what to buy, what we will wear, how we will spend our money, what to do and with whom, what to be thankful for, and will we be present to one another. So for us, putting our faith in action is central to who we are. Which actions we choose will reveal who we really are. Just as our Christian siblings waiting again, the ultimate reign, we are called to be awake and to live as if heaven is here on earth. We are called, as Walter Brueggemann said, to be a community rooted in energizing memories and summoning radical hope. I love that phrase, rooted in energizing memories. I heard Anne speak of their history, right? And summoned by radical hope. We have the memories of the child born in the stable and the hope of a new earth. We should believe that in our Christian period of anticipation of Advent and every other period, that we are called to live like Jesus did, to work for justice, to work for peace, to create a better community, to be, as our monthly theme is, present. We recognize December 1st as World AIDS Day. It reminds us of the fragility of our beings, that no moment is guaranteed. We should be awakened. We should be awakened to our other presence, not gifts, but presence. Rebecca Parker reminds us that our gifts, whatever we discover them to be, can be used to bless or to curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of the hands, the reaches of our heart, the gift or curse, maybe you'll think after this service, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting, any of these gifts can be used to serve the hungry, to bind up the wounds, welcome the stranger, praise the sacred, do the work of justice, offer love. So in this Advent season, how will you spend your time? How will you share your faith? Will you live in anticipation, or will you work to participate? Will you sleep through the revolution, or summon your gift of presence to live out our faith? Will you look for the star? Will you have hope? What will you do while waiting? Our hymn is number 224. Whether we want it to or not, whether we are waiting for it or not, Christmas will come. So we sing, "Let Christmas Come."
Please be seated. When we gather together as a community, we bring the gifts of ourselves, our hearts, our spirits, our time, our energy, and our talent to support the work of this church and also community organizations out in the community that are doing good work. We also bring the gift of our generosity, giving what we have so that the work of the church may continue. And we always share our plate with a community-based organization, the work of an agency that's making a difference in the world. This month, we're sharing our offering with ILAP, which stands for Immigrant Legal Advocacy Project. They're helping people establish their citizenship, and they're working super hard right now before January 20th. If you're watching from home on YouTube, donations may be made by clicking PayPal link in the video description, or checks can be mailed to UUCSB 60 School Street, Saco, Maine 04072. This morning's offering will now be received. join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. As we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always.
Our closing hymn is one of the 3 official Advent hymns in your hymnal. O come, Emmanuel. Our closing words are by a book entitled 7 Spiritual Gifts of Waiting by Holly Whitcomb. She writes, I hate waiting just about as much as anything in the world. I will not eat at a restaurant if I have to stand and wait for a table. I will not even approach a freeway entrance if there is any possibility I will have to sit in traffic. I obviously could use a good dose of Advent. She writes, the season of Advent, more than any other time in the church year, invites us to embrace the spiritual discipline of waiting. The season will not be rushed. The carols must be sung, the candles lighted week by week, the doors of the Advent calendar opened one day at a time, for every stage of our lives involves some new form of waiting. When you have children and they are tiny, we wait for years for a good night's sleep. When our children are toddlers, we wait eagerly for the time when they will no longer wear diapers. And when our children are teenagers, we often wait anxiously until we hear the front door close and know that they are safely home. And I will add my own commentary that when your children are adults, you wait for them to come back to be together. If we welcome waiting as a spiritual discipline, waiting will present its spiritual gifts. If we are conscious enough and courageous enough to name them and to live into them. Blessed be and amen. And let us all go in peace.